Thanks, Shane, and thanks to Dustin, your co-chair as well. The ISOC DC chapter, which provides the secretarial support for IGF USA, and all the members of the steering committee for volunteering their time to organize this important event. This isn't my first IGF USA event, but it is my first one as administrator of NTIA, so thank you for having me here today. I'm grateful for the opportunity to speak, and I'd like to use my time to discuss the administration's approach to internet policy and talk through some key issues that we've been addressing this year. For those that don't know, NTIA is an agency within the U.S. Department of Commerce, and we're principally responsible for advising the President on telecommunications and information policy issues. We're in a unique position in the U.S. government of being involved in all aspects of internet policy. Our approach is guided by a commitment to protecting a free and open internet and supporting minimal barriers to the global exchange of information and services. The Trump administration is a strong advocate for the multi-stakeholder approach to internet governance and policy development. Simply put, bottom-up, consensus-based processes create policies that are trusted throughout the internet ecosystem. At NTIA, we engage in interagency discussions, work with stakeholders and Congress, and advocate in international institutions, both multi-stakeholder and multilateral. And these engagements inform our approach on a broad range of issues, including privacy, cybersecurity, national security, and the broad arena of internet governance. The challenges we face aren't easy to solve. There'll be trade-offs and hard decisions. But in the Trump administration, our driving force will be a commitment to meeting these challenges in a way that ensures America's prosperity and clears the way for innovation. America has seen enormous benefits from this approach, so we must continue to give a green light to innovators to create a more secure, more open, and more prosperous internet. The administration's commitment to prosperity will be our guide as we tackle the issue of consumer data privacy. NTIA, in coordination with our Commerce Department colleagues at the International Trade Administration and the National Institute of Standards and Technology, recently began holding stakeholder meetings to identify common ground and formulate core, high-level principles on data privacy. Here's what we already know. America has a strong privacy enforcement regime and a strong privacy regulator in the Federal Trade Commission. The FTC has brought hundreds of privacy and data security-related cases, including an expanded settlement with Uber earlier this year, and a children's privacy case against an electronic toy maker, the FTC's first case involving internet-connected toys. The Commission will soon hold hearings on competition and consumer protection in the 21st century, which should help further illuminate these issues. We know that many Americans are concerned about privacy, and that these concerns sometimes can deter their online activities. Data from a 2017 NTIA survey shows that nearly 3/4 of internet-using households had significant concerns about privacy and security risks, such as identity theft or loss of control over personal information. What's more, over 1/3 of online households said that privacy or security concerns had led them to not engage in an online activity, such as buying goods or making a financial transaction, at some point in the last year. We also know that the industry is looking to the administration to demonstrate leadership on this issue. They're rightfully concerned about the potential for a fractured and stifling regulatory landscape. We'll be looking to strike a balance between prosperity and privacy that's in line with American values. And we're listening to a broad cross-section of stakeholders to find that balance. We want to learn how various sectors are coping with the uncertainties surrounding this important topic. Our plan is to publish high-level principles along with a request for comment so that we will not only be able to gather feedback on the principles themselves, but also begin engagement on how to move forward to reach the goals set out in the document. Carefully crafted principles will build consumer confidence, boost our economy, and clear the way for innovation. Creating confidence in how we use data is critical for not only today's technologies, but for those yet to come. As I mentioned, consumer concerns about privacy and cybersecurity can hold back our digital economy. Cyber attacks can have direct costs as well. Nearly $6 billion a year is lost to cybercrime, according to CSIS, our host for today. To ensure continued prosperity, we must create a more secure digital environment. We've been engaged on several fronts in this arena with a particular focus on the cybersecurity challenges raised by the Internet of Things, including botnet attacks. These attacks can be severely damaging, as everyone in this room knows. The threats are evolving, growing bigger and smarter, and affecting some of America's most sophisticated companies. Earlier this year, the Departments of Commerce and Homeland Security delivered a report to the President on how to reduce the threat of botnets. We're now working on a roadmap of actions that the government and private stakeholders can take to make our networks more secure against botnet attacks. To be clear, the government cannot solve this on our own. Leadership must also come from the broader internet and security communities. We plan to play a coordinating and supporting role, helping to identify priorities and bringing together stakeholders to solve problems. NTIA's cybersecurity work is another example of our commitment to the multi-stakeholder model. We've convened multi-stakeholder processes to build consensus and make progress on a number of issues, including cybersecurity vulnerability disclosure, secure updates of IoT devices, and providing more transparency about the data collected by our mobile apps. Our ultimate objective with these processes is to foster a more resilient ecosystem through the creation of industry-led, market-based cybersecurity solutions. Last week, we launched a new process focused on the transparency of software components, based on the idea that you have to know about any vulnerable components in your connected products if you want to help keep them secure. In our cybersecurity-focused processes, we start by acknowledging that our digital systems, quite frankly, will never be perfect. There are countless efforts across the government and the private sector to improve security, but for the foreseeable future, vulnerabilities will continue to exist. NTIA has focused on increasing our resilience in the face of this constantly evolving threat environment. Second, we've tried to be timely and take on issues where building quick, expert-level consensus on a rapidly emerging risk can make a significant difference. We're hoping to take advantage of the agile nature of the multi-stakeholder process. Third, we know that not every participant will agree in these processes, but avoiding contentious issues won't lead to progress. The power of the multi-stakeholder proceeding is the expression of differing perspectives, which ultimately helps identify areas of overlapping interest. At NTIA, we understand that the successful multi-stakeholder processes start with transparency and openness. That's why we continue to advocate for increased diversity, accountability, and transparency within ICANN. Through our role on ICANN's Governmental Advisory Committee, we'll support recommendations to ICANN's board that aim to achieve these goals. These recommendations reflect 2 years of hard work by dedicated volunteers in the multi-stakeholder community, and we hope to see these recommendations forwarded to the board later this year. NTIA also expects the third accountability and transparency team to begin its work in earnest next year. In a post-IANA stewardship transition environment, these community reviews are critical. We need ICANN's processes to be trustworthy and effective because the community has complex issues to solve. The most pressing issue facing ICANN right now is updating the WHOIS service in light of the European General Data Protection Regulation, or GDPR. The WHOIS is a service that prior to GDPR's effective date in May, provided public access to domain registration information, including contact information for the entity or person registering the domain name. This WHOIS information is a critical tool that helps keep people accountable for what they put online. Law enforcement uses WHOIS to shut down criminal enterprises and malicious websites. Cybersecurity researchers use it to track bad actors. And it's a first line in the defense of intellectual property. Unfortunately, European authorities have indicated that the collection and public provision of domain name registration data violates the GDPR. Because of this, as of late May, domain name registries and registrars have stopped providing important domain name registration information that's contained in the WHOIS. This is an unmitigated victory for the spammers and scammers that plague consumers and businesses. NTIA and the highest levels of the US government are engaging with the European Data Protection Board and the European Commission and the European member states to provide clarity and guidance to the community as it works to facilitate access and accreditation to WHOIS information, which is now private. This access mechanism is critical to meeting the needs of law enforcement, cybersecurity, and rights protection users. NTIA will take a lead role in this process to develop access mechanisms and will fight hard for the important governmental and commercial equities in the WHOIS service. Elsewhere on the international front, NTIA has been working with the State Department and other interagency partners in preparation for the ITU's Plenipotentiary Conference, which will be held in Dubai later this year. Plenipotentiary conferences, held every 4 years, serve as the highest policymaking events for the Union, and NTIA has a number of goals and objectives for this year's conference. First, we want to re-elect the United States to the ITU Council and elect Doreen Bogdan-Martin, a U.S. citizen, as director of the ITU's Development Bureau. The U.S. has been a member of the ITU Council since its inception in 1947 and is one of 9 candidates for the 9 seats allocated to our region, CTEL. The ITU Council serves the critical function of supervising the overall management and administration of the Union, and continued U.S. representation will provide a vital mechanism for advancing U.S. interests at the ITU. If elected to lead the Development Bureau, Doreen Bogdan-Martin would be the first woman in the ITU's 152-year history to hold one of the Union's 5 elected positions. She is uniquely qualified for this position, having spent more than 25 years in the telecommunications sector, including 14 years on the development work at the ITU. Doreen is a strategic leader who's known for her ability to bring teams together around a common vision, and she will undoubtedly bring new partners to the work of the development sector. NTIA also wants to strengthen the governance of the ITU. We're working with the broader U.S. delegation to develop proposals that would improve transparency, accountability, member state oversight, financial management, and the ITU elections process. Finally, we remain concerned by efforts to create a cybersecurity operational or oversight role for the ITU. Consistent with long-standing policy, we will resist these efforts and are considering a variety of options, including addressing cybersecurity issues in a forum that cannot lead to prescriptive regulatory outcomes. That's where we stand at the moment. As we move forward, we'll continue to engage with stakeholders and be responsive to a technology world that is rapidly changing. Just last month, we asked for feedback on NTIA's international internet policy agenda, focusing on how NTIA can best work to meet the internet policy challenges of today while enabling innovation to continue. We received more than 90 comments on diverse subjects, including data privacy, trade, cybersecurity, the multi-stakeholder approach, artificial intelligence, and intellectual property, just to name a few. Right now, the hardworking team at NTIA is carefully reviewing and analyzing the comments we received. On behalf of the agency, I'd like to thank all the commenters for sharing their thoughts. We anticipate that it will inform not just the work of NTIA, but our interagency partners, both within the Department of Commerce and externally with the State Department and others that we work with in the international arena. Finally, let me briefly note our work on intellectual property issues. As you may know, we have a strong team working on IP at NTIA, and we have a collaborative relationship with the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office, which is also housed within the Department of Commerce. This relationship has allowed each agency to leverage the other's subject matter expertise to promote a healthy balance between the availability and protection of IP and innovation in the internet economy. We also are deep in the middle of our triennial review process under the Digital Millennium Copyright Act. My time is probably about up, and I've only covered really a fraction of what we do at NTIA. The world of internet policy can sometimes feel impossibly large, but we manage it by remembering what's worked and sticking to our principles. Around the world, and even here in the United States, we're hearing arguments that we must toss away the light-touch regulatory regime that has allowed the internet to flourish. That somehow security means embracing an internet that is fractured or walled off, or that protecting privacy means every internet company needs a massive compliance department. That's taking the internet in a direction we simply don't recognize. As Americans, we support a free and open internet because freedom and openness are among our fundamental values. We're a nation of innovators. We don't ask for permission to change the world, we go out and do it. I'm confident that if we hold fast to our values and work together, we can blaze new paths to prosperity. Thanks very much, and good luck for a successful day.
David has volunteered to take questions, so remember we have a mic runner. Questions? All right, we've got one up front here.
Thanks for your presentation. My name is Li Yang. I know that high tech is very important and internet is very critical, but I think not only a lot of people, their internet or social media, or even in their email or even snail mail, this is from ancient ages. The individuals, their communication will be intercepted or obstructed. So I think it's very important if there are anything like this and it will be obstructed from participating, and I'm glad this time I have a chance to speak. I think it's important for exchange of idea. And currently, a lot of organizations, especially like National Science Academy of Science, they put the PPP, but that's actually reflect the extreme fraud and crime, including murder. So if they are using this approach, arrest people to jail, we send a lot of people mass incarceration. And that is terrible because I'm thinking all issues are interrelated. So internet like this, if we want to expand for economic development, but you are really basically to benefit a few and take away people's home and house and everything. So it's not going to solve the problem, just benefit a few, and a major population it just suffered. So I just wonder if you can think about interrelated social issues and really put the justice and fairness up front so nobody can take their rights away and their property away.
We'll certainly keep that in mind. It's not an issue that we typically have engaged on, but I appreciate the way you framed it, and we'll certainly keep that in mind.
Thank you.
Morning, Steve Del Bianco. David, you spent many years in Congress on a staff overseeing the Commerce Department from that side of the table. So I would ask you just two quick questions. What are the biggest surprises that you've had to encounter as you moved into the administration side of internet policy? And then how would that inform the people in this room as to how we modify the way we approach, say, the Commerce Department at NTIA versus the way we approach the Commerce Committee over in Congress? They're really not the same thing, are they?
No. Oh, the list of things I wish I knew when I were a Hill staffer is long, 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 long. But isn't that the value of having a new job, right? You get a new perspective. I'm thoroughly enjoying being on this side of the debate. I think the thing I'm most surprised by at NTIA is the depth of knowledge at NTIA. As a Hill staffer, the Hill gets to see a small percentage of the number of people who work at a given agency. It's the people you've asked to go be spokespeople for you on Capitol Hill. Having had the chance now to work with the almost 300 people that work at NTIA and see their dedication, and it reminds me very much of a comment I made as a Hill staffer at an ICANN meeting, which is the first time you go to a multi-stakeholder meeting like ICANN and you see the number of people there who are passionate and dedicated and doing this not because of personal gain, but because it's something they truly believe in, it's humbling. It was the same experience getting to NTIA. It is humbling how many people there are experts who could be doing many things outside the US government but feel passionately about making a difference. I think that's the thing to bear in mind when you meet with us.
We have to get going with our program, so I'm going to...
You got one more in the corner if you want to do one more.
Do you have one last question over here? Yeah, thanks.
Hi. I'm curious, do you get the sense that the White House is going to issue any kind of guidance on privacy, given, I guess they had that private meeting with industry recently?
So we've been at the department doing a number of meetings, as I mentioned in my speech. We've been doing outreach on behalf of the Department of Commerce and on behalf of the administration to stakeholders in the privacy arena to see if we can come up with high-level principles that reflect how the U.S. feels about privacy in a world where we try to balance innovation and prosperity with our personal beliefs on privacy. We're obviously working with our colleagues in the White House, and we look forward to trying to put together something that we can put out for comment.
David, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, everybody.
Okay, Jonathan Zook.